Paul and I went to the Oktoberfest at
Paul.
Alpine Village last year.
And how was it?
Were there any blacks or Latinos or Asians in there?
There were plenty of Latinos.
Yeah, because it's beer. Because they drink beer.
I was the only black person.
Paul was
But Paul and I,
take care.
Paul and I teamed up, and we won the cow milking contest.
That's right. We milked a cow full of beer.
Let me ask you a question. I had no idea. There's parts of you that I don't even know existed. This is fabulous.
Yeah.
Why did you guys go on your own just to go there?
Yeah, well, actually, I think was KFI doing a remote from there?
Something like that. But mostly we went to drink beer and eat
The sausages?
Yeah, you lift your stein up in the air.
Knockwurst. Sikasake. Oi, oi, oi.
And it was how are the knockwurst and the bratwurst there?
Oh,
Good.
excellent.
Good.
Yeah, nice, big pieces of meat.
Yeah.
Where-
I think Oktoberfest is on now. I think it started. Yeah.
And where is Alpine Village?
It goes for a month. Yeah, it's near the 110 freeway as you get down there.
Get off on Torrance Boulevard.
Is it a restaurant?
As you head down,
It's a shopping center kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is a restaurant there. Yeah, and as you get towards San Pedro, going towards San Pedro on the 110.
I remember we were in Germany just a little while ago, and we went to a traditional German restaurant right in Berlin in the basement, this Rothskeller type of thing. And we said, just good German fare. They brought up ham hocks and pig's feet and sausages and wursts and, potato salads. It was fabulous. I didn't stop eating. It was very good. Pig's feet were kind of disgusting.
Maybe they'd like to, maybe Alpine Village would like to bring us in some
Ham hocks?
bratwurst and knockwurst and
Knockwurst and
all those other
wursts.
wursts.
That's right. The
Wursts.
The wursts are good. Blood sausage is god-awful disgusting, but the wursts are great. All right, guys, we're done. And, again, I apologize for being a few minutes late, but you guys did a yeoman's job, so to speak.
You were on special assignment.
I was on special assignment. In the meantime, coming up in just a moment, Handel on the news on this Tuesday morning here on KFI AM640, more stimulating talk radio.
You can take the step you've always wanted. You can bring out the best in yourself. It's about a commitment to American values and being there when you're needed.
You made life. Your job is to father it.
Dr. Laura, today at noon on KFI AM640, more stimulating talk radio. Empowering you. KFI, Los Angeles.
A plane crash into a New York landmark. Good morning. This is the 6 o'clock news here on KFI. I'm Ken Gallagher. Smoke is pouring from the upper floors of the north building of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York right now. CNBC is reporting a witness says a plane hit the building and that evacuations have been ordered. CNN is reporting the plane appears to be a commercial jet, perhaps a 737. According to one of the witnesses, it struck the building about two-thirds of the way up from the ground. More on that as it becomes available. KFI is a talk station with the most frequent traffic reports. Time to say good morning to Mike Nolan, KFI in the Sky.
Ken, good morning. We've got an ongoing signal to the transition westbound San Bernardino Freeway to the southbound 5 Golden State Freeway. That transition will be shut down. There was a crash from a big rig involved. Westbound San Bernardino Freeway, New Avenue, and Atlantic crash is being reported. Could be one of the same. Westbound on the San Bernardino Freeway beyond New. Watch out, southbound 5 Santa Ana Freeway at Washington, earlier problems. And eastbound Santa Monica Freeway approaching Crenshaw. That'll be the right lane block. A big rig lost a wheel. That'll slow you down eastbound on the Santa Monica Freeway. Normal on the 91 crawling from the 15 into the Santana Canyon. KFI is a talk station with the most frequent traffic reports. Mike Nolan, KFI in the Sky.
KFI News Time is 6:02. A toxic scare shuts down a school. Let's go live to KFI's Jennifer Bauman this morning, who says it's the only public school on Catalina.
Well, there'll be no classes at Avalon School today, and maybe not for weeks or months. More than 700 K-12 students are without a school for the indefinite future after traces of lead and dioxins were found in the soil under the playground. A construction crew dug up the toxins when a trench was dug to install some new utility lines. Test results are expected in 2 to 3 weeks, so school district officials say they're scrambling to find alternate classroom space until then. Further tests are underway at the 77-year-old school site to see if there's widespread contamination and to determine what cleanup measures need to be taken. Live in L.A., Jennifer Bauman, KFI News.
The L.A. School District is about to buy a school site in Sun Valley that's said to be contaminated with mold. The DWP has been working to remove the mold from walls and stairwells before they sell the Anthony office building to the school district for $50 million. Daily News is reporting the building also has problems with ants and will require methane monitors to check for gas leaks from a nearby landfill. The governor signed a law designed to get teachers credentialed faster. Here's KFI's Vicki Moore.
Not enough teachers. It's been a big problem for schools throughout California, but now teaching candidates can jump on a fast track. Jack Scott's a state senator from Pasadena. He came up with a plan. He says it should cut the time it takes teachers to get credentials from about 2 years to a few months. Instead of completing a long program, Scott says candidates can take a test to show they've got the right stuff. That would get them on the job, where they would then be observed in a classroom setting. Vicki Moore, KFI News.
KFI News time is 6:04. After a $300 million renovation, L.A. City Hall now has a leaky roof. Here's KFI's Monica Evans.
As the renovation was nearing completion, it was discovered the roof was leaking pretty badly. And so for another $800,000, work got underway. Chief Legislative Analyst Ron Deaton says it was never part of the renovation budget.
The project team was responsible for getting done was the project within those dollar amounts, and we're still getting the dollars in. There wasn't an extra $800,000 to do that project.
And he says there's going to be other repairs needed on the building that weren't part of the budget. In L.A., Monica Evans, KFI News.
There is some added pressure on the EPA to adopt tougher standards for arsenic in drinking water. National Academy of Sciences report says the cancer risks from arsenic are much greater than the agency acknowledged under the Clinton and Bush administrations. Stocks expected to open higher based on futures trading today, but analyst Andrew Brooks says the downturn in Wall Street is making investors pretty cautious.
So far, every buying opportunity, you've been given another one, and that's getting a little old for investors who keep getting a chance to buy again a little bit lower.
Stocks are barely budged yesterday. The Dow was down a fraction. The Nasdaq rose 8 points. The sister of Robert Blake's murdered wife is going to court today to fight for the right to see her 14-month-old niece and possibly to gain custody as well. Lawyer Gary Goldstein says the family of Bonnie Lee Bakley has tried visitation rights with Blake, but in his words, outrageous conditions were imposed. KFI News Time 6:05. Once again, repeating our top story in New York right now, an aircraft crashed into the upper floors of one of the World Trade Center towers this morning. A black smoke pouring out of the building at this hour. No immediate word on injuries or fatalities. They say the plane was coming in low, looked like it hit at a slight angle, according to some of the eyewitnesses. And then we have reports now that a second plane has struck the other tower. We'll have confirmation on those details just as soon as we can.
Now, it's fairly obvious now, Ken, that a second plane has, in fact, struck the tower. You can see that now.
We'll confirm that as soon as we can. The baseball playoff race gets tighter. KFI bleacher bum Rich Marotta has the shocking specifics.
And the Dodgers didn't even play last night, but two of the teams they're battling for the wild card spot did, and both won. The St. Louis Cardinals beat Milwaukee 8-0. Chicago Cubs defeated Cincinnati 8-2. So here's how the National League wild card race shakes out. The San Francisco Giants are on top. The Cardinals just a half game behind. The Dodgers and Cubs just a game and a half back. I'm Rich Marotta, KFI Sports.
We're not just idiots. We're idiots with microphones.
KFI AM640. More stimulating talk radio.
Law & Order is now on TNT Monday through Thursday night at 8/7 Central. Get caught up all over again with recent episodes you may have missed. Catch Law & Order Monday through Thursday night at 8/7 Central only on TNT.
It's too darn hot. It's too darn hot.
The word is out. Kiss Me Kate is setting Los Angeles on fire with glowing reviews and stars Rex Smith and Rachel York. It's the hottest ticket in town. Sizzling, says the L.A. Times.
I'd like to fool with my baby tonight. Break every rule with my baby tonight. But pillow, you'll be my baby tonight, 'cause it's too darn hot.
KTLA TV reports this kiss is going to remain on your lips forever. And ABC TV's Jim Newman cheers, Kiss Me Kate is great. So make a date with Kiss Me Kate, Broadway's Tony Award-winning Best Musical Revival of 2000, now playing at the Schubert Theater through October 13th only. Call 1-800-447-7400 today.
Some great seats are still available, so call today.
It doesn't make the world go round. It can't buy you love. And it's no guarantee of happiness. But money, most will agree, can result in certain conveniences. In the world of banking, that can mean having an account that earns interest and getting unlimited check writing. But now, you don't need a lot of money to get a lot of conveniences, because now there's the Platinum account from Washington Mutual. With Platinum, here's what you get. interest earnings like a money market deposit account, a Visa Platinum check card, unlimited check writing, and more. And when you keep $10,000 in your Platinum account or any other designated Washington Mutual account, there's no monthly fee. That means if you have a combined balance of $10,000 in a Washington Mutual home loan, car loan, CD, or other account, you won't pay a monthly fee for Platinum. For more details, come see us. The Platinum account from Washington Mutual. It takes the privileges of the few and makes them available to many. Washington Mutual. More human interest. FDIC insured. Certain restrictions apply.
Pick up today's Los Angeles Times Classified. With thousands of automotive listings, it's Southern California's ultimate resource. In print, online, your future is here.
KFI News Time 6:09. Southern California weather. Partly cloudy today. Chance of thunderstorms over the mountains. Highs in the mid-70s for Metro LA and Orange County, up to the low 80s in the valleys. Right now, 63 degrees here in Los Angeles. KFI is the talk station that does news, weather, and traffic every few minutes every morning. 6:09. I'm Ken Gallagher, KFI News.
Good morning, everybody. 6:09 KFI AM640, more stimulating talk radio. Bill Handel, and a pleasure to have you with us. If you have not yet heard, a few minutes ago, an airplane crashed into one of the World Trade Centers, followed by a second plane that crashed into the second World Trade Center. We now have both buildings on fire, and it's hard to say at this point, but that cannot be an accident. And I think it's safe to say that we've got a situation going on where we've got a terrorist attack upon the World Trade Center. From where it comes from, no one knows. What's fascinating is, it's astounding how prescient we are. Not 15 minutes before this plane attack, we were sitting here talking, sort of joking around about kamikaze attacks.
In Japateur.
In the Japanese during the kamikaze attacks, and how they disbanded, and how there are no such thing as any more suicide attacks on American interests and forces. Well, the news is at this point, the second, I believe, airplane that was caught on tape. It is astounding to see what happened with this. Well, before the news is going to come out, we're certainly going to find out where it comes from. We'll see if anybody takes responsibility for it in the next little while. At this point, we're just trying to figure out what the casualties are. You can imagine the second one comes in at about 6:05, 6:03 our time, which is 9:03, just the beginning of the workday. The first one maybe 10 minutes before that, 10 minutes before that. We have with us a young lady who is no longer with us. She's gone at this point, who was working at the Trade Center. Can give us some information. There is an elevator that takes tourists up to the observation deck of the World Trade Center. And they don't know if that was in the path of one of the planes. If so, they're looking at a lot of damage and probably a lot of people being killed, because this is the height of the tourist season in New York. The World Trade Center, of course, being one of the prime areas, one of the prime viewing areas in New York. As you can imagine, we also have the number of people that work in the World Trade Centers are extraordinary, tens of thousands, about hundreds of thousands. They have their own zip code, from what I understand. I mean, it's a city here that has virtually been attacked. Right now we're talking to a young lady, Gina Losito, who can see the building from her window in New York. Gina, welcome to KFI AM640. Thanks for being with us, Gina.
Hi, thanks.
All right, what are you? You're looking at a bunch of smoke, I'm assuming, right?
Well, yeah, pretty much. I can see nothing but smoke from my window, but I can see, because I'm on the west side, but I'm like in the mid-50s, but I can see the towers, obviously, on television. And they keep replaying that second explosion, which I watched happen live because I'm staring at the first explosion or whatever happened, the plane crash. Now that they've replayed it, you see a plane, and I saw a plane come into the frame and deliberately go into the building. There's no way, you can't not miss these two buildings. So for whatever reason or for whatever's happening, that was like...
So what do you see? How many... Are you able to see the ground from where you are?
I can't see the ground from where I am, but I used to work in this building, and I actually worked on the floor about where the first plane crash happened. They're replaying right now. This. All
right, now it's two. Now I'm assuming at this point that the crash has occurred fairly high up, so we will not be seeing any fire trucks with ladders going up to this point.
No, definitely not. This happened around, it looks like the 80th floor, and the second explosion looks like it happened around the 60th or 70th floor, which, again, they're just replaying now, which was like so this plane, the second plane that just went into that building, was directly aiming at that building. There was no way to not do that. And I used to work on the 86th floor of this building, and planes would fly below you, like prop planes. Jets, of course, were about even or a little bit higher because as they're coming in to land at JFK, they're a little bit higher. But you have to. All the flight patterns are completely away from the island, so you'd have to aim for that to make what happened happen. But it's just absolutely.
How many people are in the building? Do you know? I mean,
at this hour, there's a lot of stockbrokers there. I would say it's pretty full. So if somebody was trying to make sure they hit it at an optimum time, this would be the one to do it because all the brokerage firms, they start at like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning.
And knowing the building, is there anything in particular about where the planes went into the building? Is there anything happening?
I can't tell you that specifically because I don't really know what is in either tower, like right about where they hit. It's mostly financial. All the offices in that building are mostly financial. But it's just, I'm still waiting to hear, as I'm sure you are too, about what happened on the street with all the debris that's been falling down and raining on people, because that is probably the most populated section of Manhattan at this hour is right where that hit. There's the Staten Island Ferry comes in there, all the buses, all the trains in there, and it's probably the most people that work in Manhattan work in that very area.
All right, Gina, thanks so much for being with us. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, Gina, young lady, used to work at the World Trade Center, and in fact can see the building from her apartment building. So to reiterate, the World Trade Center has been attacked, and I can fairly safe to say attacked. The second plane came in just a few minutes after the first, crashing right into the building. And it is simply extraordinary to think that another terrorist attack has been visited upon the United States, but I can't imagine that it's anything but. The first plane crashing in just before 9 o'clock New York time, just before 6 o'clock our time, and then about 8 minutes ago, the second plane simply just literally plowing right into the building, not averting, not making any kind of evasive moves, not a pilot saying, oh, my God, I'm about to crash and making a move. I mean just a direct flight, boom, right into about the 60th floor of building number 2. So now both buildings, both the World Trade Center buildings, have been hit by airplanes, appear to be on purpose. Yes, Ken
I have a
Gallagher.
couple pieces of updated information for you here. The FBI, according to the Associated Press, the FBI is investigating some reports of a hijacking that occurred just before the crashes into the World Trade Center. And spokesman for the NTSB says normal air traffic in that area does have planes around there going to and from the various airports, but the planes are always several miles away from the World Trade Center. That's the latest we have.
All right, Dan Mandis, who is an old friend here at KFI, is with us in New York right now. Dan, good morning to you. Well,
hey, Bill, how are you?
Yes. Now, you are there watching it at this moment at the street level?
Yeah, no, I'm about probably 15, 20 blocks away, and the streets are, pretty packed around it, so I really can't get any closer. Not sure if I want to either after seeing that second
now you saw that
second plane go in.
Now, you saw it live. You were watching it as the plane went into the building.
Yeah. I saw the second one. I mean, the ball of flame coming out of that thing was just incredible. Smoke, as I'm sure you can see, is just unbelievable, billowing out of, it looks like both buildings.
Hey, Dan, as you're watching the second plane go in, what were you thinking? Was it like you were not believing this?
Yeah, I mean, I said to somebody else, I feel like I'm in Beirut right now. It's unbelievable. I can't believe this is the United States with planes, crashing into buildings. But, here we are. And it's very hard to believe as I sit and watch the World Trade Center with a huge gaping hole in it. It's incredible isn't even the right word to use.
Now, have the police cordoned off the area yet? Do you see any kind of action going on in that regard?
No, not yet. I'm actually walking the other way, but I mean, the police and the fire engines and all that kind of stuff, fire trucks are trying to get by. So it's it's a madhouse down here.
Can you hear the fire trucks from all over the city?
You could earlier, not now. Right after the first one happened, you could, and then, of course, after the second one, everyone, they had fire trucks and police engines trying to get to the building. But I'm sure you know if you've been in New York, traffic here is unbelievable. And
so can we assume then that the rescue crew and fire trucks have yet to reach the building in many cases? Dan?
They can attack the cab around here.
I'm sorry, Dan, is it safe to say that some fire crew and safety rescue people have not yet reached the building because of the traffic?
That's a possibility. I'm not close enough to be able to tell if they're there or not. They should be there by now because I think they would have pretty much cleared the streets. But I think the initial blast, they must be there by now.
All right, thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. Take care. Dan Mandis, who old friend of KFI, used to work here. Still believe that he was involved with Dr. Lohr, if I'm not mistaken. Works no longer. All right. Let's reiterate. Let's tell you again what happened. If you've just tuned in, two airplanes crash into the World Trade Center this morning within probably 8-10 minutes of each other. The first one just before 6 o'clock our time, about 9 o'clock New York time, as you can imagine, a weekday, the World Trade Center jam-packed, full of people, normal workday, one of the busiest, if not most crowded buildings in the world. In addition to that, the number of tourists that go to the World Trade Center to go to the observation decks, I imagine, middle of the tourist season in New York, absolutely jammed. I think it's safe to say that the United States once again has been visited upon with a terrorist attack. There is no question that these were done on purpose. This does not look like an accident at all. The planes are being reported as hijacked. Both airplanes are being reported as hijacked by the FBI. If this is the case, we've got an extraordinary criminal act going on. This is out of a movie. You couldn't sell this script. Can you imagine walking into a Hollywood producer's office and saying, hey, I've got one for you. We hijack two airplanes and they plow into the World Trade Center, killing thousands of people, totally disrupting New York, and effectively bringing America to its knees, afraid of terrorist acts. That is the script, and unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it's no script. It looks like this is precisely what happened. The second airplane was watched by millions. People were looking up at the hole in the building the first airplane had created, and to the horror of people watching, you saw the second airplane literally flying right into the second building. That is the building that had not yet been hit. A huge ball of flame erupted as it hit the building, and as you can imagine, the carnage inside. The only hope is that by that time, 10 minutes or so after the first plane had hit, the building was being evacuated. I have no idea how many people were heading down. I'm assuming the elevators, of course, were not being used. In emergencies, they go down the stairs. I have a feeling that this thing could have been so well timed that if you figure out the number of people on the top floors of the second building coming down the stairs, virtually in a panic after the word was out, the building has been attacked. Oh, my God, let's evacuate the building. Let's do what we can do. And they are now coming down. Remember, the second attack is about 20 stories below that of the first attack. And it seems like, and this is speculation on my part, it seems like the airplane was aimed for and was timed to do the maximum amount of damage and to hurt and kill and maim the most number of people. Because that's what I would have done. If I'm attacking the building, I would have guessed, okay, we've got people coming down the building. They're evacuating the second building. It hasn't been hit yet. Let's go right about here because that is where it looks like the most number of people would be. As of right now, both buildings are on fire. There are huge gaping holes, one in about the 80th story of building number one. There are actually two holes, one where the plane actually went in, a second where the plane crashed, the second building where the plane crashed in. I don't believe there's a hole on the other side. Smoke pouring, flames pouring out of the holes, these huge, gigantic, massive holes in the building where the plane crashed in. Dr. Richard Deukmejian, professor of USC. Dr. Deukmejian, thanks so much for joining us here at KFI.
Yes.
All right, sir, you're an expert in the world of terrorism. I know it's fairly easy to say we jumped the gun last time with the bombing of the Murrah building in Oklahoma City. What are your first thoughts as you're watching, as you're hearing what's going on here?
Well, it's on the face of it, it's this is two terrorist acts against high-profile targets. Obviously, those who did it, they wanted to send a message, and I don't know what that is. We'll have to wait and see. I'm reminded of the World Trade Center attack, February 1993, of course, by terrorists who from Afghanistan and the Middle East, and who called themselves Islamic terrorists. But beyond that, at this point, it's tough to say. But certainly, this is a tragic, tragic act.
Now, I'm comparing this to what happened in Oklahoma City and the previous bombing of the World Trade Center.
Yes.
If it is a foreign terrorist attack, let's say we're talking about Arab militants or Afghani militants or someone who's unhappy, will we be hearing someone take responsibility for this soon?
Yes, because clearly this is a terrorist act which is intended to have a demonstration effect. And somebody is going to send a message. Whatever that message will be, we'll find out. Because in the case of the Oklahoma City bombing, the message was clear. Of course, at the time, everybody blamed it on Islamic terrorists, and that was very wrong, as I myself pointed out at that point very clearly. In the February 1993 World Trade Center bombing, of course, it was that truck bombing underneath one of the buildings was an Islamic terrorist attack. And there, of course, the message was very, very clear.
Yeah, you know what, Dr. Dikmajian? Now, no one obviously is making the same mistake that was made at the bombing of Oklahoma City. No one is saying at this point who the terrorists are, where they're from. Islamic militants are not being blamed at this point. No, whether it's homegrown, a la Tim McVeigh, no one is at this point speculating. But knowing where you are coming from, the way this was done, this high-profile attack, the hijacking of the airplanes, the flying into a crowded building at the most vulnerable time, does this smell like a plan that would come from a foreign terrorist, or it makes no difference? This could be an American terrorist making the same point a la Tim McVeigh.
Yes. At this point, everything, the little I'm seeing and hearing indicates that it may be a foreign terrorist act.
Only because it sort of smells that way at this point to you.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I would argue the same thing, actually. I'm not an expert like you are, but it seems to me you take something that's this visible, this is not a federal building. This is not an American militant against the government. This is clearly just the American people at their most vulnerable and at their most visible at this point. So I'm going to go out on a little bit of a limb and say it sounds like some kind of a foreign terrorist attack. I may be wrong on this, and I'm not going to blame who it is.
It sure sounds like that. As far as the domestic terrorist types, that is the Patriot movements, the Timothy McVeigh type people, much of what they've done is not this kind of terrorism.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. It's very interesting to know where the planes were hijacked from. And, of course, given what's been happening, particularly in the Middle East, against that background, one automatically will suspect that it has some kind of political connection to the Middle East conflict.
Right.
But we'll have to just wait and see.
All right, thank you, Doctor. I appreciate it.
You're
Dr. Ricker Dikmajian, professor at USC, a specialist in the world of terrorism throughout the world. Now, It's just been reported, by the way, that President Bush is going to comment on the World Center disaster. We're expecting a presidential comment. I'll tell you right now what he's going to say. Right now, it's a horrible thing. It's terrible. We're going to bring these perpetrators to justice. We will find out what's going to happen. It's your normal blah 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 you're going to expect. Now let's get a little bit deeper for a moment, and you're going to find out. Let me tell you another. I'm going to prognosticate for a moment. You're going to find out as they hijacked this thing. You're going to find out how easy it actually was. Think of this. You go to Long Island. You go to one of the outlying suburban airports where there's virtually no security on these commuter planes. You literally walk up with a gun, grab the airplane, and fly it into the building. You've got an 8-minute flight, a 5-minute flight plowing right in. I'll bet you we're going to find out. And the scary part is, and we've been talked and told this by experts in the world of terrorism before, the Rand Corporation, other people like Dr. Dick Midgen, how vulnerable we really are. How easy it is going to be and how easy it is to attack American interests. We don't think in terms of attacks on us. We do in foreign embassies. I don't know if you've ever gone around the country and you've seen the kind of security that foreign embassies have, but we don't think in terms of protecting our buildings the way the Israelis do, for example.